Hey guys, today I wanted to show you how you can create a bar graph to show how much you have of an item or to show some data that you've collected. So when you make a bar graph, the first thing you have to do is identify what we want to show. So today I want to show how I can graph my money. So I have like a pile of coins right here and I want to sort these all out and then count how much I have of quarters, pennies, or quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. Okay, so first step when you're making a graph is that you want to record your data. So to do that, you can make a T-chart if you're only if you want to, or you can make a table. So I'm going to make a table just to show you guys something different because we remember we talked about T-charts in that time video. On one side of my table, it's going to have the name of the coin, and on the other side, it's going to have the cent amount. So on my table, I have to label each column. So what I like to do first is write out my words. So I'm going to say that each one is going to take Okay, so one side is going to be name of coin. I'm just going to draw a line down and then I can always erase. And then my other side is going to have my cent amount. Okay, so this kind of looks like a T-chart right now. The only difference really between a table and a T-chart is that a table is enclosed with a box around it. So draw a line underneath this to separate. Okay, now I'm going to write down my names. So quarter, so now I'm going to box this off. And erase this bottom part. So on one side I have my quarter, my dime, my nickel, the name of my coin. And one side I'm going to write my cent amount. So I'm going to do that after I count. So I'm going to bring my pile over. Okay, so here's my pile. Now I'm going to count first starting with my quarters. So how many quarters do I have? I have 1, 2, 3. I don't see any other quarters. So my cent amount for my quarters is 25 plus 25 is 50. 50 plus another 25 is 75. So if you can't do that in your head, that's okay. It might be helpful to write down your math on outside of the table. So 25 plus 25 plus 25, because I have 3. Or you can write 3 times 25. Okay? So now my dimes. Put those off to the side because I've counted them. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I have one over here. I don't know if you guys see those. 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Or you can do 10 plus 10 6 times, or you can do 10 times 6. Okay, push those off to the side because I've counted them. I want to keep them separate. Now it's my nickels. Remember, your nickels can look like this. Oops. With this on the back. Or they can look like this with this as a heads. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, remember each one is worth 5 cents, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So, oh look, I have as many nickels as it takes to equal 1 quarter. So now we know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nickels equals 1 quarter. So that's 5 times 5. Now just have my pennies left. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Remember, my pennies are copper in color and will sometimes have this building on the back. or let's see if I can find it, has a shield like this on the back. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 pennies, and remember, each penny is worth 1 cent, so all I have to do is just count, and it's 8 cents, or 8 times 1. Now we can graph. So bar graph, we're going to make a bar graph, and a bar graph looks like this, so we'll show you. So on one axis you have these things called axes, and there are just 2 lines. One is vertical and one is horizontal. Okay? Now each of these lines has to be labeled. So I'm going to take my names of my table. I had my column, name of coins, and I had my column for the cent amount. So one axis is going to be called the name of coin, and one is going to be called the cent amount. Okay? Now down here we're going to put quarter, dime, nickel, and penny. And so since we're going to make a bar graph will look like this, where it's going to look like a bar. Okay? So I have to make enough space on my graph to be able to draw a thick bar. So I'm going to start my name here, and I'm going to go across 4 boxes on the bottom. So we're going to have our quarter, and it's going to take up 4 boxes, and so I'm going to do the same thing for each of these. Now up this side, I'm going to have numbers. So you can count in 1s up the side, 5s, 10s. You just want to choose the number that makes the most sense. So we don't want to be counting by 1s if our range of numbers up here is from, let's say, like 2 to 160. Because your graph is just going to go on for so long if you count by 1. So you want to choose a number that you can count by that will fit in this space. Okay, so I'm going to choose to count by 5s because it's a pretty reasonable amount and it will probably fit into this space. So this is 0. Where the 2 lines meet is always 0. We call that our origin. Okay. You guys might have heard that name before when we were talking about rays. So these are kind of like 2 rays in a sense, because they're going to go on forever. So we have 5, 10, 15, 10. So now that we've done this graph, we are going to plot our data. So that means we're going to take what we've made in our table and put it onto our graph. So we have our quarter here, and our quarter in cent amount was 75. So we're going to have to draw our line all the way up to the 75 mark. Okay, so this is why using graph paper is helpful, because we have our lines that we can follow. So up here, okay, that's my quarter. Next is my dime. So my dime was 60. Again, go out to the 60 line, follow it out. Oops. And now my nickel was 25. And my penny was 8. So we're going to have to kind of estimate with our penny because it's not an exact number on the cent amount. So here's my 10 line. So I'm going to go mark my 10 line, but I'm just going to go just below my 10 line to mark it that it's 8. Okay? Because since this is 5, we would say about here 6, 7, 8. So that's about where I drew my line. Okay, so now we have our data graphed. Now if you want, you can color the inside of your graph if you would like, or you can draw patterns on the inside so that each one looks different. So I'm going to do that really quick. Okay, so now I have graphed my numbers. I made them into a bar graph. So now I can see my data represented very quickly, and I can see very easily which one is the largest. So I can see that this right here was my largest cent amount, my quarter. Now I could say it here, but this gives me a visual representation, so a drawing of my data. And this is often used in science when we do experiments and we record our data and then we represent them on graphs. Okay, well I hope that video was helpful and that you are able to use bar graphs in the future. If you would like some ideas, I will post some graphs that you can make in the comments.